Nelson Chamisa, who is the former leader of the Citizens Coalition for Change, has said it is treasonous to change the constitution of Zimbabwe without going through the people. Exactly the same process that we saw or witnessed unfolding in Zimbabwe, leading to the current Constitution Amendment Act number 3 of 2026. Nelson Chamisa said this whilst interviewed by a journalist, a Zimbabwean journalist based in UK, that is Simba Chikanga. He revealed that it is treasonous for the regime of Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa to change the constitution via the back door without the people of Zimbabwe. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Let's listen to Nelson Chamisa speaking.
People are impatient with different views. How do you hope to crush that temptation of being the leader of an institution and the leader of a civilization? Because those are two very contrasting forms of leadership.
Of course. Thank you very much, Simba, for this wonderful opportunity. But I just want to correct you that people are angry, people are hopeful, and people are anxious, not angry. They want to see change. They want to see transformation as of yesterday. You know, Zimbabwe has had a very difficult opportunity, in terms of economic opportunities, in terms of political opportunity, the right to vote, to participate freely, to be citizens, and to make a difference. You know that we have over 5 million Zimbabweans in the diaspora. That tells you a story about depreciating and decreasing opportunities for the people. And because of that, they're anxious. They would want to see changes of yesterday. But of course, that change comes very tough and difficult because the expectation is that, no, if we have a political party organization, then yes, we'll be able to then mount a challenge against dictatorship. But it's not as easy as that. We need a cultural shift. We need a radical change in terms of our civilization, the way we look at things, our philosophy of politics. We must know that we don't just want to replace leaders, one with another. We've had for five instead of leaders. So we need a paradigm shift so that we begin to say those who are in leadership are people who are in leadership on account of accountability, responsibility, and on account of them having checks and balances, going back to the people, being held to account, whether in opposition or in government. You can't have a constitution that is changed without the people, without a referendum. You can't talk of a constitutional amendment that deals with the definition of power and you don't go back to the people and say it's normal. It's actually criminal to try, it's treason, to try and change a constitution without the people. It's actually unconstitutional, and that's where we are. So yes, we need a civilization more than just an institution.
But I think people want to know when. When do you cross in this timeline? When are you hoping to either cross to the other side or bridge these two realities together?
Well, you see, when is always a difficult factor because it's not an individual who makes the determination. Time belongs to God. All we can do, Simba, is to lead and provide the alternative. As we are speaking, we are laying the framework, the foundation, the structures, and the outline of the involvement and platforms for citizens to be active. Enthusiasm is huge, the excitement and the willingness is amazing. You saw the contributions we got and the people who came from different walks of life, professionals, media practitioners, business executives who have ideas about how to build a better country. And their enthusiasm is what we must build on because the hope of a nation is built on very fundamental issues of trust, confidence, and of course, mutual respect, and that's where we are.
So this was Nelson Chamisa. To him, he says Zimbabweans have hope In fact, that's what he said. He said Zimbabweans are hopeful for a better Zimbabwe, and went on to say you cannot just in a country attack a constitution, change the constitution without going to the people of Zimbabwe, and went on to characterize this characteristic of Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa as treasonous. So he also underscored that he is currently building structures and of course sharing that people in the United Kingdom responded overwhelmingly to his actually consultation in the United Kingdom. Remember, I was saying, is this the time for consultation or this is the time for actually solving the problem? We know this problem has been ongoing. It didn't start during the days of Nelson Chamisa. It didn't start even during the days of Morgan Tsvangirai. Zimbabwe has been a mistake since 1980, and people of Zimbabwe have never enjoyed a country that is properly governed, where their rights are adhered to, where people are respected, where the people of Zimbabwe has always been undermined. Their voices have been thwarted through violence. ZANU-PF has been a violent political party since 1980. That is the fact. But also, there is a trend that is confusing from the opposition. You know, the opposition of Morgan Tsvangirai, if those who were there, I remember as much as I was young, but I saw everything happened. It started with protest. People were protesting. It was, in fact, a protest from the workers of Zimbabwe of living conditions. And the ZANU-PF of Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa standing up to thwart those protests from the people of Zimbabwe. But the people continued to protest. Remember, ZANU-PF wanted to create what we call a one-party state. That is why they went after Joshua Mkabu-Nkomo's ZAPU and forced it to be swallowed by ZANU-PF, because they were after, they even killed the people of Matepeleland who supported ZAPU, because they wanted a one-party state. And later, eventually, MDC was given an opportunity to participate in elections, but still ZANU-PF rigged elections. And also one thing that Nelson Chamisa said, remember, it is his views, he's entitled to his views and political ideology as a politician. He says in Zimbabwe, people are more concerned with changing leadership, but we are not after changing the values. We don't care what kind of a leader. I think you can tell even from 2017, when the military removed Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the celebration was that there was a change, because to have a change in Zimbabwe is a mammoth task. And we saw what that change eventually turned to within a space of a year. The monster revealing his true colors, that he was exactly like Robert Gabriel Mugabe. When fire was opened, live ammunition to the citizens of Zimbabwe, whilst the world was watching, international media covering the elections in Zimbabwe, because they were invited, hoping that Zimbabwe was for the very first time going to actually see the change that they have envisaged, because investors worldwide they were looking at those elections on whether the will of the people was going to be permitted to be the order of the day. Me and you, we saw what happened. Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa killed people, killed Zimbabweans with live ammunition. The army was put on the streets of Zimbabwe. It has been revealed that the army decided to rig elections, decided to do another coup for Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa to lead. He was given 5 years. That was the biggest mistake. So to some degree, Nelson Chamisa is saying the truth, that the problem of Zimbabwe is our political culture. That is what has to change. That is what we need to change the system. I will always say why I personally supported. At one point, I was supporting and embracing Blessed Keza. Now, Blessed Keza was speaking about changing values, was speaking about addressing past injustices in Matabeleland. He even saw no reason why the people of Matabeleland, for example, could not become the next president of Zimbabwe. That is what he cared. He was speaking of a government of national unity, whereby opposition was going to be also included. He was speaking of getting rid of Mnangagwa and starting a Zimbabwe afresh. But of course, the guy at the helm that he trusted was retired General Chwenga and military generals to lead that transition. But well, we know what eventually happened. Blessed Keza is now resting. May his soul rest in peace. But the language, the political culture that was hinted by Blessed Keza, though he was not also a perfect man, especially when he started, but as time progressed, the man was speaking the language that could resonate with the people of Zimbabwe. The man was speaking the language that's why you saw whenever he addressed the people of Zimbabwe, they listened to him with anticipation, because he was speaking what everybody, the youth of Zimbabwe, the mothers, the fathers of Zimbabwe, anticipated out of their government. Exactly what is being underscored by Chamisa, that we should not change political leaders. We should not say, let's have Nelson Chamisa. What are the values of Nelson Chamisa? Political values. Do they resonate with the national values that Zimbabweans envisage? For example, in 2013, Zimbabweans saw that no, we did not need a life president. A president should not just be given a lot of time in power. A president should just be given 5 years. And after, if he feels he hasn't done much for the people of Zimbabwe, he should be given an additional 5 years for the last time. This is what was confronting Emerson Tambutso Mnangagwa. But being a man without values, being a man who is not properly cultured, being a selfish man and having enjoyed how to be a thief pays in Zimbabwe, especially if you are a politician. The man saw that 2028 was closer. He was not ready. As soon as he rigged the elections in 2023, he realized that Zimbabweans hated him with a passion. If in 2028 he will attempt election, or if he will also to the West try to attempt a referendum, anything which has to do with people, he understood what would be the result. So he had to come up with a strategy to use the members of the parliament to change the constitution, justify it in a manner he did to deceive the people of Zimbabwe. Act smart, even though some of us, we saw that he was trying to act smart. We even predicted that this is not the man who was just going to hand over power to any other person, and he has demonstrated exactly that. So, what people celebrated, they celebrated something which was, we should actually stomach that as the people of Zimbabwe. What is needed? We don't need rulers. We've got a ruler. That's what Nelson Chamisa said. We don't need rulers in Zimbabwe. What is needed? We need servanthood leadership. People who will get the mandate from Zimbabweans. People whom, when Zimbabweans says, no, your time is over, like what happened in Botswana, like what is happening in other progressive democratic countries, not retrogressive demagogue-led countries like Zimbabwe. If you watch the pattern, I'm using the language of the military generals, if you watch the pattern, it is democratic. If you change a person based on the values, not just we are changing putting a Mnangagwa, but not looking at the personalities of these individuals, that the other one possess worse personalities. You are removing the problem and putting a worse problem. And Mnangagwa has proven to be a liability in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Signing off. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the side of the live broadcast. Definitely